Sato was a sad gooner who fell in love with a princess from another world and gave up everything to be with her. However, everything changes when their first kiss grants him overpowered abilities. Now he has to crack her enemies by day and her royal buns by night. 10 years ago, Sato had a dream where he was playing in the woods when he noticed a bright light and approached it to see what's going on. Just then, an old man and a fun-sized girl appeared before Sato, making him wonder if they were aliens. Approaching him, the girl introduced herself as Crystal, before asking him to forget everything he saw today. In return, Crystal promised Sato that she would let him eat her cupcakes. After that, Crystal and her grandfather moved in next door, and Sato became good friends with Crystal. In the present, Sato is woken up from his dream by Crystal, who has prepared a whole buffet for him. As Sato sits down to eat, he notices Crystal's bazookas and immediately feels the urge to 6-7 those puppies. Restraining himself, Sato tells Crystal that she has grown into a confident woman, to which Crystal says that she is done hiding and is ready to become a strong princess, which confuses Sato, since he grew up hearing Crystal call herself a princess. Just then, Crystal picks rice from his face and places it in her mouth, which makes Sato's junior stand alert like a North Korean soldier. Later, on their way to school, Sato notices Crystal's ring locket and remembers her saying that she'll give one of the rings to her future husband. After recalling how she asked him to marry her one day, Sato quietly hopes that Crystal still remembers their promise. But when Crystal catches him eyeing her locket, she quickly tells him he's not getting the ring, before leaving him in the dust like an ugly Pajit. Once they arrive in class, Crystal learns that she passed with good grades, which makes her happy since she believes a princess needs to be smart to govern her country, which makes everyone wonder why she calls herself a princess. Meanwhile, Sato's friends urge him to shoot his shot with Crystal before she gets hammered by a Chad in college. Just then, Sato receives a text from Crystal, inviting him to a fireworks festival, which makes him wonder if he has a shot with Crystal. Several minutes later, Sato arrives at the spot and finds Crystal in a yukata, causing his loins to burn with passion. Meanwhile, Crystal recalls the past when Sato used to hold her hand to make sure she didn't get lost in the crowd, and she says he was her hero. At this, Sato becomes determined to prove that he is still the boy she wanted to marry once. So after winning her a cheap Miniso plushie, Sato takes Crystal to the woods, where he is about to tell her that he's balls deep in love with her. However, Crystal suddenly drops the bomb that she is moving to her grandfather's homeland tomorrow. Before Sato can argue, Crystal thanks him for all the memories, leaving him speechless. That night, as Sato returns to his lonely apartment, he realizes he knows nothing about Crystal or where she came from. Just then, he notices a bright light and rushes out, recalling that 10 years ago he saw the same light. The dream he saw earlier suddenly started making sense to Sato, so without wasting a second, he runs to the forest where he finds Crystal. Upon seeing Sato, Crystal realizes that he remembers everything, so she sadly tells him that she is going back to her world, as it's time for her to get married. Then, with tears in her eyes, Crystal enters the portal, leaving Sato alone to realize that he's not okay with Crystal marrying someone else. So he follows after Crystal, and finds himself in a palace where he sees Crystal about to be wedded off to a prince. Upon seeing Sato, Crystal gets emotional, but their reunion is cut short when an abyss monster crashes the wedding party. As the monster attacks Alabaster, he tells Crystal to hurry up and give the Ring of Light to the prince. However, Crystal ignores the boomer and kisses Sato, giving him the Ring of Light, shocking the old fart and the prince. However, respecting Crystal's decision, the prince throws his sword towards Sato, which syncs with his ring, allowing him to cut the monster in half. But before Sato can celebrate, he passes out and wakes up in the royal couple's room with Crystal beside him, who tells him they're now married. Just when Sato is starting to think that Crystal is in love with him, she tells him that she married him because he was familiar, unlike the prince, whom she had never met before. While Sato is taken aback by Crystal's reasoning, elsewhere, the nobles are upset with Crystal's decision to marry a random Pajit from another world. However, Prince Marse shuts them all up by saying that it's the princess's choice to choose the Ring King. Soon after that, Sato is taken to meet the locals who have all been eagerly waiting for the arrival of the Ring King, and even though Sato is scared, he excitedly tells everyone that he has come from another world to save them. Yet later in the bathhouse, Sato regrets making a promise out of pure excitement. Just then, Crystal enters the bathtub, saying they're newlyweds, so they need to bathe together.
Finally!
Which gets Sato's Johnny excited, until Crystal knocks him out. She then apologizes to Sato for dragging him into this mess, but he tells her that he wants to stay by her side so he can protect her. This reminds Crystal of the golden days when she used to get bullied for being the new girl, and Sato would always come to her defense. Suddenly, the alarm bells start ringing outside, and as Sato stands up, he ends up scaring Crystal by giving her a view of his extra-large subway.
Oh my!
As they rush outside, the guards tell Sato that several abyss monsters have appeared, and only the Ring King can defeat them. Just then, Alabaster hands Sato a weapon and tells him that the ring will help him, so Sato assures Crystal that he'll protect her kingdom before destroying her kitty.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Meanwhile, outside the palace, a servant is about to become a Scooby snack for a monster when Sato arrives and takes it down with just one swing. While he is wondering how he got so strong, Alabaster reveals it's because of the kiss he had with Crystal. Sato then learns that the more plot he builds with his wife, the stronger he will get. Alabaster also adds that it is Crystal's duty to give him sloppy toppies, so he becomes stronger. Hearing this, Sato thanks Temu Gandalf when they suddenly notice a mysterious figure in the sky. While Alabaster is freaking out over it, Sato is confident that he can defeat the monster because of the kiss he had with Crystal. So as he rushes towards him, Alabaster yells from behind that he's not like the other monsters. However, it's too late, as the Abyss Knight summons a gust of wind that throws Sato against the wall. Seeing this, Alabaster tells Sato to get moving, or they'll be watching the Michael Jackson movie with Michael Jackson himself. As they run inside the palace, the Abyss Knight summons two monsters to chase after Alabaster and Sato. Seeing this, Sato asks Alabaster what they are up against, since he couldn't even get closer to that thing. That's when Alabaster tells Sato that the Abyss King has sent one of his knights to eliminate him, because he fears the power of the Ring King. Before Sato can ask further questions, Temu Gandalf uses his magic to erect a giant wall to stop the monsters from chasing them. However, before they can relax, they notice the Abyss Knight is waiting for them at the end of the corridor. With nowhere to go, Sato and Gramps start panicking, when Prince Marse shows up and lights the Abyss Knight on fire. As Marse tells Sato to get in the carriage waiting outside the palace, Sato reminds him that his babe is still inside. However, the prince tells Sato to stop being a simp for just a minute and follow his order. Minutes later, Sato is in the carriage with Crystal on his lap, as she tearfully thanks God for saving her sausage supplier. Meanwhile, Prince Marse tells Sato that when the monsters breached the palace, he safely brought Crystal to the carriage. Sato thanks him and asks him for an introduction, so Marse reveals that he is the second prince of the Empire of Gisarus. Sato then asks Alabaster if the Kingdom of Light will be okay in their absence, and the old sage replies that once the Abyss King learns he's no longer in the kingdom, he'll leave and launch a search party for him. As Sato breathes a sigh of relief, Alabaster tells him that he needs to level up because his power is too little to go up against the Abyss King and his powerful knights. When Sato asks what he can do to gain more power, Alabaster informs him that he needs 4 other rings, which shocks Sato. Seeing him speechless, Alabaster tells Sato that to get those rings, he will have to marry 4 other princesses. However, Sato freaks out at the thought of having a harem, while the old boomer is excited to see him crack multiple shotties. Seeing all this, Crystal becomes upset, as she doesn't believe in sharing Sato's lollipop with anyone else. Once they arrive at a motel, Alabaster tells Sato about their history. A long time ago, the world was on the verge of succumbing to the dark powers of the Abyss King. Several nations were ruined, and seeing all this, the Ring King forged 5 rings imbued with the magic of earth, fire, water, wind, and light. With the help of the rings, the Ring King managed to defeat the Abyss King and sealed him away. After the battle, the Ring King raised 5 princesses and married them so that the rings would stay protected by their nations. Now that the Abyss King has once again been revived, Sato must obtain the rings from the princesses to defeat the Abyss King. Later in their room, Crystal tells Sato he doesn't need to worry about her, since their marriage is just a formality. Sato is about to disagree with her when he winces in pain, causing Crystal to worry about him. Taking off his shirt, Crystal is horrified to see Sato's entire body covered in bruises, and she blames herself for dragging Sato into her mess. As Crystal runs off in tears, Sato follows after her, but ends up losing her. Finding Marse on the balcony, Sato asks if he has seen Crystal, and he reveals that he just saw her running in the woods. Then, noticing the look on Sato's face, Marse quickly realizes there is trouble in paradise. So he tells Sato that the responsibility they bear is huge, and thanks to him, he doesn't have to face the Abyss King. After telling Sato that Crystal is in the rear garden, Marseille hopes that one day he will have Sato's courage to follow his heart. Meanwhile, Sato finds Crystal and confesses that he is in love with her, so she shouldn't feel responsible for dragging him into this fight. At this, Crystal tells Sato that she has been acting selfishly, as she doesn't want the man she loves to get hurt in battles, or marry other women. However, she is ready to fulfill her duty as the ring princess and his wife. After that, the two head back to their room, as Sato pushes Crystal on the bed, ready to demolish her cheeks. However, when the idiot is unable to get it up, he stops and tells Crystal their first time needs to be more romantic than this.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
In the end, the two share a kiss before calling it a night. The next morning, Alabaster asks Sato if he tasted Crystal's yoni, but after taking a look at their dumb faces, Alabaster realizes the only action anyone got was the mosquitoes in their room. As Marsa joins in, Alabaster reveals their next stop is the hidden 11 village, because they are the keepers of the Ring of Wind. After arriving at the location, Sato and the gang are greeted by a whirlwind that stops them from entering inside. Alabaster then reveals that the elves used to be welcoming, but since the revival of the Abyss King, they do not like other races entering their village. Just then, a huge bear appears, scaring everyone but Sato, who has watched too many episodes of We Bare Bears. As he approaches the wild animal with the intention of taming it, the bear lets out a growl, causing everyone to flee the scene. Luckily, they can find shelter in a cave where they are greeted by two elves. Sato introduces himself as the Ring King, revealing that he is here to meet their princesses. When they're taken to Ramka, the hidden village of the elves, Crystal wonders what the elf princess is like, so Sato assures her that even if she looked like Sydney Sweeney, he would still be loyal to her, which fills Crystal with relief. As they enter the palace, they see a maiden hidden behind the throne, who asks Sato and Crystal if they have made out, and when they confirm it, the princess freaks out, calling it gross, before running away. While everyone is wondering what just happened, an elf appears from the dark and tells Sato that it won't be easy to get the ring from their shut-in princess. With that, he introduces himself as Jade, the eldest son of the previous king, and the older brother to Princess Nephritis, the dork who just ran away. After the polite introduction, Jade orders his guards to take Sato into custody. While he is being dragged away, the elf prince assures Crystal and the rest that they will be treated like guests. A few minutes later, Jade comes to speak with Sato in the cellar, where he tells him that Nephritis is very delicate. Sato agrees with him and adds that Nephritis seemed immature and stupid, which upsets Jade, so he yells at Sato not to mock his sister, who doesn't have any exposure to the outside world. He then tells Sato that Nephritis is just 54 years old, so until she turns 80, he will have to wait for her in jail. As Jade walks away, Sato screams after him that he will die of old age by then. However, Jade ignores him and joins his advisor, who asks him if he is sure about his decision. So Jade replies that he doesn't care about the Abyss King because his empire will remain safe as long as they have the whirlwind protecting them. 3 days later, Sato is still inside his cellar when he gets attacked by a busty babe, who asks him what he plans to achieve with the rings. Annoyed by her interrogation, Sato tells the woman that he just wants to live a normal life with Crystal, which makes her laugh. She then opens a secret passage and tells Sato to follow her, but he cautiously asks her why she is helping him. The woman, named Peridot, reveals that she has to look after Ramka, and only he can defeat the Abyss King, so she has no choice but to help him. Peridot also adds that Prince Jade is a coward who believes the whirlwind is protecting them, when in reality, it has turned elves into scared chickens who are afraid of stepping out in the real world. With that said, Peridot leads Sato to the Wind Temple, where he sees two statues holding the Ring of Wind. When he asks Peridot why the ring isn't with Princess Nephritis, she explains that the statues are the old king and queen of Ramka, who have been using the power of the ring to keep the whirlwind intact. Just then, Nephritis enters the temple, causing Sato and Peridot to hide. They then hear the princess telling her parents how scared she is to elope with the Ring King, as she believes he is just here to steal her and the ring. Sato is so shocked to hear this that he ends up startling Nephritis. She then asks Sato to come out, but when the princess sees him, she ends up fainting. Seeing this, Peridot tells Sato to take Nephritis with him, but when he asks her if it is wise to do that, she tells him to trust the elder. Meanwhile, Jade learns that Nephritis has disappeared and starts to panic. Elsewhere, Sato watches over Nefertiti's and recalls how Peridot told him to fulfill his duty by obtaining the ring from the princess. Moments later, Nefertiti wakes up and freaks out after seeing Sato's ugly face that she ends up vomiting. Back at the palace, Jade finds Sato's cell empty and is shaking with anger when Peridot arrives, announcing that Nefertiti has eloped with Sato. Sickened to his stomach, Jade tells the elder that he doesn't believe her, so Peridot teases him further by saying that his sister is probably getting backshots by now. As Jade falls to his knees in despair, Peridot urges him to let Nefertiti fulfill her duty as one of the ring princesses. However, Jade refuses, claiming that Nefertiti doesn't need to do anything as long as the ring is protecting their kingdom. With that said, he tells guards to search for Nefertiti and Sato, who are currently having no pajama party. As Nefertiti apologizes to Sato for throwing up on his clothes, he tells her to relax, but she tells him that since she never left her palace, she doesn't know how to interact with outsiders. At this, Sato tells her that he is just an ordinary human from a different world, so Nefertiti curiously asks him if he came from a world where there are goblins and dragons. In response, Sato tells Nefertiti that his world is fairly peaceful other than America.
It's an evil world we live in.
Hearing this, Nefertiti eagerly asks if they have elves, and Sato nervously tells her they don't have them yet, which upsets Nefertiti. Sato then realizes that Nefertiti is interested in his world, and she confirms it by saying that Peridot brings her books on the outside world, which makes her want to explore. But she can't do it because she is too afraid. Hearing this, Sato tells Nefertiti that was also a coward until he fell in love with Crystal, and followed her to another world. After hearing that, Crystal excitedly tells Sato that she wants to see his world, but he shyly reminds her that her Grand Canyons are on display. While Nefertiti is covering herself up, Jade and his army tell them to come outside. Before facing Jade, Sato tells Nefertiti that he has no intention of forcing anyone to marry him, so she can do whatever she wants to. Hearing this, Nefertiti gets the courage to tell Jade that she is ready to fulfill her role as the ring princess, but Jade angrily counters that she is disobeying her elder brother by choosing Sato. Feeling scared, Nefertiti quietly joins Jade, who smirks, and tells Sato that he is about to face severe consequences for abducting the princess. Luckily, Peridot arrives and saves Sato by telling Jade that she is responsible for the Ring King. Even though Jade is upset by this, he has no choice but to respect the elder, so he tells Sato to never show himself in front of Nefertiti. Later on, Crystal is annoyed with Sato for winning Nefertiti, and when Sato asks Crystal if she is jealous, she shyly tells him to piss off. Just then, Peridot arrives and tells Sato that he needs to know why Nefertiti refuses to leave her brother's side and why they have a whirlwind protecting them. Before Nefertiti and Jade's mother inherited the Ring of Wind, it was handed to her elder sister. According to the custom of Ramka, the ring princess is supposed to marry someone from the village to keep the ring from leaving the village. However, when the eldest princess fell in love with a traveler, the villagers feared the traveler would run away with the ring, so they started hating him. One day, the traveler disappeared, leaving the eldest princess so heartbroken that she placed a curse on Ramkat to be swallowed by the abyss. While the eldest princess disappeared, the elves feared her words would come true, and so to soothe their fears, the second princess used the power of the ring to create a whirlwind that would protect Ramka. Before turning into a statue, the second princess told Nefertiti to never venture outside their village, and that's why Nefertiti never got to leave Ramka. Following this, Alabaster tells Sato to give up on the Ring of Wind, which shocks Sato, until Alabaster reminds him that the Abyss King is growing strong day by day, while he can't even defeat an Abyss Knight. Sato quietly listens to the old sage as he tells him they can come back for Nefertiti later, but Sato isn't fully satisfied, and admits that he is worried about the princess. Despite this, Sato agrees to leave with his gang, and as Jade watches them go, he convinces himself that he made the right choice to not trust Sato. Just then, a messenger rushes in and tells Jade that a powerful Abyss Knight is sending monsters through the whirlwind one by one. As Jade's arrogance breaks in front of him, elsewhere, Alabaster sees the monsters heading towards the palace and tells Sato they need to protect the Ring of Wind, so Crystal kisses Sato to help him gear up for the battle. Meanwhile, Peridot tells Nefertiti about the monsters and asks if she is going to do something, but Nefertiti refuses to come out, believing there is nothing useful she can do. As Nefertiti tells Peridot that she promised her mom to stay put, the elder becomes annoyed, so she tells the princess that she's better off dead, Meanwhile, at the Wind Temple, the Abyss Knight is about to grab the ring when Jade arrives and tries to stop him, but the knight easily overpowers him. While Jade is desperately trying to protect his parents' legacy, Sato and gang arrive to save the day. Shocked, Jade asks Sato what he is doing here, so he tells Jade that he wants to protect Ramka, for Nefertiti's sake. Following this, he looks at Crystal and assures the prince that he just had a good makeout session so he can easily take care of the creepy guy. But as soon as Sato faces the Abyss Knight, he gets pounded hard by him, making Crystal realize that she alone cannot support Sato. While she runs off to talk to Nefertitis, Alabaster tells Sato they should abandon the Ring of Wind, because if he dies here, all hope would be lost. Just then, Peridot enters the temple and tells Sato to hold on a bit longer because Crystal has gone to summon Nefertitis, which surprises Sato. Standing outside her room, Crystal pleads with Nefertitis to marry Sato, revealing that her own parents died protecting her and the Ring of Light. Sympathizing with her plight, Crystal adds that it's not easy for the ring princesses to bear the burden of protecting the ring, but it is something they must do. However, Nefertitis counters that her parents gave up their lives so she wouldn't inherit the ring, which means she has to honor their wish. Crystal finally breaks down and tells Nefertitis that Sato is out there, fighting for her home, and while it hurts Crystal to admit, she tells Nefertitis to crack Sato so he can defeat the Abyss Knight. Back at the temple, Sato and friends are getting cooked like a well-done steak by the Abyss Knight when the girls arrive carrying a sledgehammer. Before Jade can scold Nefertitis for coming out, she and Crystal shatter the statues, shocking Jade. As Nefertitis kisses Sato and gives one of the rings to him, Jade wonders what will happen now that the whirlwind protecting Ramka has gone away. However, Nefertitis places her trust in Sato and locks her hand with his, creating a massive light that burns all the monsters attacking Ramka. As the Abyss Knight falls weak on the ground, Sato commands the wind, and using his sword, he stabs the Abyss Knight in the face. Soon after that, Sato loses his consciousness and wakes up to find Nefertitis and Crystal by his side. Just then, an elven woman appears to thank Sato for saving Ramka, but when he asks who she is, Alabaster reveals that she is Princess Smaragdi, the eldest princess of Ramka who ran away, cursing her nation. As Sato wonders what she is doing here, Peridot reveals that she was the Abyss Knight, being controlled by a dark ring that has now lost its power. The old princess then reveals that she was manipulated by the Abyss King into accepting the dark ring, as he promised that her pain would disappear. Hearing this, Sato realizes that he is in a naughty version of Lord of the Rings, as Peridot informs him that after the battle, the Abyss King lost his body, while his soul is sealed away in Vans, the land to the far north. When Alabaster tells Sato that the threat of the Abyss King is serious, Sato stands up to get moving, but ends up feeling dizzy. Seeing this, Peridot tells him to take it easy, because an ordinary human in his place would have been dead by now. However, thanks to his bond with Nefertitis and Crystal, he was strong enough to handle the Abyss Knight. As Sato nervously looks at his second wife, she tells him they should go to the healing spring, and soon, Sato finds himself sandwiched between two hotties, with their plot armors long forgotten. While he is tweaking out, Nefertitis tells Crystal that, as Sato's first wife, she should teach her how to give him glizzies. However, Crystal freaks out, knowing the reality about living with a virgin like Sato, so she lies that she gets cracked by Sato on the regular. Nefertitis is amazed when suddenly Peridot arrives and tells Sato that she wants to taste his hot dog because she's curious about the meat he's packing. Seeing how Sato is getting all the attention, Crystal gets jealous, so she tells Sato to demolish her cheeks in front of everyone. However, the idiot chickens out, saying that he won't be pressured like this, and ends up flashing his ding-dong to Peridot and Nefertitis, who realize he is as thick as a Coca-Cola can. In the meantime, Princess Smaragdi asks Alabaster if he knows what happened to her lover, and he gives her a pendant belonging to the traveler, before telling the princess that her lover couldn't bear seeing her get shunned by her people, so he went to live in a faraway land. The next morning, Nefertitis visits the Wind Temple, where her parents have been laid to rest. Jade shows up and tells Nefertitis that she has gotten stronger, allowing her to join Sato and his harem. However, when she links up with Sato, he asks her if she is sure, and Nefertitis tells him that it's her duty to provide oral and moral support to her husband. Meanwhile, Smaragdi learns that the sage she was talking to last night is called Alabaster, which shocks her because that was the name of her lover. A few days later, Crystal finds Sato and Nefertitis about to make some bang-bang chicken, which makes her scream in horror. She then wakes up and realizes that it was just a bad dream until she sees Sato serving Nefertitis some soup in the forest. Taking a seat, Crystal recalls all the moments when Sato was closer to Nephritis and burns with jealousy. Meanwhile, Marse asks Alabaster where they are headed next, and when he tells him they are going to the land of water where the dragon folks reside, Marse excitedly shares that he has always wanted to go there. Just then, Nephritis burns her mouth, and while Sato checks up on her, Crystal burns with envy, so she tells Sato to tend to her, but he just ignores her. Feeling upset, Crystal runs inside the forest, and Sato quickly tails behind her when a huge moving town appears before their eyes. While they are shocked, Alabaster calls them lucky, as he reveals they are in front of the Land of Fire, a nation of wandering knights and cat people. Alabaster then tells the gang that the Land of Water can wait, and they should first seize the Ring of Fire. However, Marse is disappointed by the news, as he doesn't want to visit this crap nation, which surprises Sato, and he wonders if Marse wanted to meet someone from the Land of Water. He then asks Alabaster how they will get in, and the old fart casually screams to let them on board. When a ladder is thrown at them, Nephritis starts panicking, telling Sato that this is where they part ways. But before Sato can console Nephritis, Crystal quickly volunteers to help her to stop her man from getting closer to Blondie. After helping Nephritis get on board, Crystal notices that Sato is checking out her dumpy, and while it makes her happy, she pretends to get mad at him. As Nephritis takes in the view of the bustling town, Alabaster reveals that during the era of the First Ring King, the cat people lost their territory, so they built their nation on wheels, and made their living by selling their martial powers to the traveling merchants. As Alabaster finishes his lecture, the guys notice that Nephritis and Crystal are missing. Meanwhile, Nephritis freaks out after finding herself in a crowd full of people she doesn't recognize, and even though Crystal tries to calm her, she ends up vomiting her guts out. Just then, a cat girl walks up to them and tells them that if they are lost, they should head for the arena since that's where all the lost and found are kept. In the meantime, Sato is losing patience over his missing baddies when he notices a few cat girls eyeing him weirdly. At this, Marse assures him that they must be checking him out, which fuels Sato's ego until the ladies attach themselves to Marse, leaving Sato in the dust. While they are fawning over Marse, he asks them where they can find their princess, which upsets the girls because their princess already has a lot of suitors. However, they quickly get over it and agree to lead them to Princess Granart. In the meantime, Crystal buys food for Nephritis, and when she cleans her face, the elf princess tells Crystal she is just as kind as Sato. When she adds they remind her of her parents, Crystal freaks out and reminds Nephritis she is older than her. However, the elf ignores her and says that she hopes to be a good wife to Sato when the said devil appears. As the girls join him, Crystal informs him that it won't be easy to woo Princess Granart, who values strength above anything else. Once they step into the arena, Granart instantly notices the rings on Sato's hand and tells Sato that if he wants to marry her, he needs to be stronger than her. With that, Granart attacks Sato and quickly overpowers him, before telling Sato that she expected more from the Ring King. As Granart struts away, Sato decides to train under Marse, who beats the living daylights out of him. Just then, Granart's servant calls them for a meal and serves extra to Sato, claiming that he needs to be strong if he wants to bag their princess. The talkative servant further reveals that, so they end up returning with bruised egos and blue balls. At this, Sato wonders how he is going to beat Granart, and Alabaster tells him to use the power of the rings. However, Sato considers that as cheating until Granart's servant reveals that magic is allowed in Granart's court. Later that day, Sato enters the arena and watches the princess defeat another simp, which makes him lose more confidence in himself. While he is feeling sorry for himself, Crystal comes and cheers him up by placing his ugly head in her lap. While they are talking, Nephritis watches them build plot and feels bad for not being able to comfort Sato. Minutes later, Alabaster calls Sato for the magic class, and a few hours later, he and Marse enter a bathhouse to relax. While they are there, Sato admits to Marse that he didn't expect him to be so strong, so Marse tells him that he belongs to an empire that expects a lot from him, which is why he needs to be strong and smart. He also adds that his older brother and father are a lot more outstanding than him, which prompts Sato to ask if he can beat Granart in a duel. However, Marse admits that he is weak compared to the princess when a light-skinned baddie approaches them and asks them if they want a massage. Sato, being a scumba, quickly says yes, so the girl calls a big black ditty fan to give Sato a massage while Marse leaves with the hottie. After the bone-crushing massage, Sato is greeted by Granart, who removes her towel and asks Sato to give her a massage. As Sato touches Granart's toned body, his junior pops up to say hello, until Granart tells him that she is tired of being courted, so she'll pretend to lose to him during the next battle. However, Sato refuses to accept a pity win and tells Granart that he is going to win her fair and square. However, Granart doesn't care and tells Sato to do his best, leaving him to practice all night long. The next morning, Sato wakes up exhausted, and he notices something moving in his bed, and it turns out to be Nephritis, who wants to hop on his wood. She then tells Sato that she knows how hard he has been working, which bums him out, as he tells her that he doesn't believe it's enough to win Granart. At this, Nephritis urges him to use the power of the rings, revealing that not only do they have healing properties, but they will also grant him the power to easily defeat Granart. However, Sato is reluctant to do so, as he wants to win against Granart using his own skills, and knowing this, Nephritis tells him that she will support him no matter what he does. Sato smiles and thanks Nephritis before walking out of the room, leaving her sad since she was hoping to get piped by Sato. An hour later, Sato starts training with Marsa and shocks him with his determination. While the prince is telling Sato that he now has 1% chance of winning, Crystal overhears a few cat girls talking about how Granart got a happy ending massage from Sato. However, after learning what actually happened, Crystal becomes sad at the thought of Sato touching another woman, and dreams of him in a naughty way, before realizing that she can't keep Sato all to herself. The next day, at the arena, Sato challenges Granart again, and while everyone cheers for them, Crystal remains quiet, which doesn't go unnoticed by Alabaster. He asks her why she isn't cheering for Sato, who has worked so hard for the Fire Princess to acknowledge her. However, Crystal quietly says that she doesn't want Sato to win, because then Sato would have a 10 out of 10 thick Dami Mommy in his harem. Meanwhile, a Tinkin walks out of the arena after getting crushed by Granart. While he is feeling horrible about not bagging the princess and becoming the next ruler of the Fire Nation, he notices a dark ring on the floor, and suddenly he hears whispers urging him to wear the ring, and all his desires will come true. After picking the ring, the idiot becomes consumed by the abyss and returns to the arena, where he attacks Sato. However, Granart quickly shields him and starts clashing with the Abyss Knight, who lights up in flames and summons abyss monsters. However, the cat people quickly jump to take care of the monster, revealing that they had been training for the day when the Abyss King would cause chaos again. At the same time, Granart acts quickly and orders this cart to be detached from the rest of the train to prevent the monsters from spreading everywhere. While the cat girls are dealing with the other monsters, Granart prepares to take on the Abyss Knight, thrilled that she finally has a strong opponent, unlike that wimp Sato. However, her confidence shatters the minute she strikes the knight, as her sword melts upon contact. Seeing this, Sato uses the power of the wind ring before attacking the knight. However, it's all useless as the knight throws him against the wall, leaving him shocked. Granart then tells Sato to let her handle this, to which Sato says that her attacks are also useless against the flaming Cheeto, but Granart refuses to give up, claiming that she's the descendant of the warriors who fought beside the first Ring King. She also adds that she and her people will support him, even if he is a useless skinny boy. Filled with shame, Sato tells Granart that even though he can't use the full power of the rings, he can still draw the knight close to him and extinguish his flames. However, Granart finds the plan too dangerous, but Sato insists that he wants to show her that he is strong enough to handle all that cake. With that said, Sato flashes his rings to the Abyss Knight, drawing his attention towards him. The moment he closes in, Sato extinguishes his flames, allowing Granart to strike down, which causes the dark ring to fall out of his hand. While the idiot regains control of his body, Granart tells Sato that she underestimated him, because even though he is weak, he still fought valiantly. When she tells Sato that she is willing to accept him as her husband, he turns her down and challenges her to another match. The fight begins, and right away, Sato gets owned by Granart, who tells him to use the power of the rings if he wants to defeat her. While watching this, Crystal wonders why Sato is trying so hard to impress Granart when she has already accepted him as her husband. Just then, Sato tells Granart that he won't use the rings because that power belongs to the princesses, and he wants to prove to everyone that he is manly enough to protect Crystal on his own. The moment Crystal hears this, her jealousy vanishes, and she tells Sato that if he beats Granart, she will let him inside her Cave of Wonders. While the entire arena goes into shock, Sato gets fired up and prepares to fight Granart when he hears the voice of the rings, telling him to follow his command. Despite not understanding anything, Sato prepares to fight Granart, who suddenly vanishes from his vision. The ring then tells Sato to look above, where he finds Granart, and quickly strikes her down. While his friends are cheering for him, Granart jumps on Sato and places a kiss on his lips, before telling him that he is the first person to have defeated her. She then tells Sato to crack her until she starts walking side to side, but he turns her down, and says that he only wants to do the naughty cardio with Crystal. Later that night, Sato jumps on Crystal, and as she waits for him to enter her bush, she finds Sato fast asleep. Knowing that he worked hard, Crystal kisses Sato and lets him sleep on her chest pillow. That morning, Sato wakes up, wondering whether he cracked Crystal, when Nefritis pops out from the sheets, revealing that he didn't do anything to Crystal. Granart follows up, telling Sato that she is ready to be cracked like an egg, when her subordinate arrives, telling her that all the preparations have been made. Later that night, a banquet is hosted for Sato as Granart hands him the fire ring, revealing that she is satisfied to have him as her husband. Noticing the blush on Sato's face, Crystal gets jealous, and drowns herself in alcohol, causing Sato to carry her back to their room where he tells her that he won't crack her until they return to his world. However, he still asks Crystal to let him jiggle her jugs, and as she lets him have his way, Granart jumps from the curtains, telling Sato to do her right now. But before the naughty puss is successful, Crystal and Nefritis knock her out using a chair. The following day, Sato and his gang arrive at the Land of Water. While everyone is amazed by the liveliness of the city, Sato realizes Marseille is missing. So Alabaster informs him that Marseille had something to do, so he went ahead. Just when Sato is wondering whether Marseille has a side chick here, a creepy girl runs up to him, asking if he is the Ring King. When Sato answers her, the girl suddenly hands him flowers, claiming she is a big fan of his, which inflates Sato's ego and upsets Crystal. While his guard is down, the girl kisses Sato, and a fourth ring appears on his finger. She then trolls Sato by calling him a naive simpleton, before revealing herself as Sapphire, the maiden of the Ring of Water. Shocked, Sato asks Alabaster if what Sapphire did is legal, and Old Fart gives her a thumbs up for making everything so easy. The Water Princess then looks at Sato's harem who have been glaring at her, but she dismisses them, and tells Sato that since they are married, it's his duty to look after the Land of Water. Unsure what to say, Sato asks Sapphire to be more specific, and the shorty tells him that if he doesn't act quick, this land will perish, shocking him. Just then, an ugly, pissed-off soldier named Sluder arrives to take Sapphire back to her palace, but she clings onto Sato, and tells Sluder that she just got married to the Ring King. Without showing any emotions, Sluder tells Sato and his gang to come to the palace. Once everyone is inside the carriage, Sato witnesses beautiful waterfalls, while Sapphire tells them to notice how there are imperial guards all over the city. Sato takes a look and realizes the soldiers are from Gisores, Marseille's country. Following this, Alabaster reveals the ugly man they met earlier is actually Marseille's older brother, and the first prince of the Gisores Empire who has been seizing control of other nations. As Sato questions the integrity of the empire, Sapphire talks badly about the Gisores Empire, calling it an occupying force, but Granart tells her that the Empire is bringing everyone together to face the Abyss King. However, Sapphire ignores Granart by calling her an ugly cat, which riles her up. Eventually, they arrive at the palace, when Sato is suddenly attacked by a giant octopus monster. Fearing for his life, Sapphire warns Sato to be careful, but he easily tackles the threat using the power of the rings. Impressed by this, Sapphire grows hopeful that perhaps Sato can help her out. Soon after that, they arrive at the palace, where Sapphire proudly tells her father that she has married the Ring King, opposing his initial plan of keeping her and the ring inside the palace. Hearing this, the creepy oracle whispers something in her father's ear, which makes him cry out in the fear, as he tells Sapphire that her actions will ruin the nation, before scolding Sato for coming here. As the bald idiot starts having a coughing fit, the cunning oracle quickly takes him away, which allows Sato to ask Sapphire whether the suspicious woman was her mother. Enraged by his question, Sapphire reveals that she is the palace's oracle, who her father relies on so much that he is turned into a senseless idiot, even though he was once known as the wise king. Just then, an ugly girl enters the room and complains to Sapphire for not asking her before giving the ring to Sato. Sapphire dismisses her with a half-hearted apology before introducing her as her twin sister, Sapphira. While Sato is taken aback by the sister drama, Sapphira scolds her sister for marrying such an ugly man, and wonders if Sapphire did this to save her from marrying the hideous Ring King. As Sato stands there shocked, his wife tells Sapphira that despite his looks, Sato is a good man, which only adds salt to his injuries. Just then, Marseille gets emotional, and tells Sapphira that he hasn't forgotten the promise he made to her, but the girl coldly asks him to leave her alone, before running away. As Marseille follows her, Saphir tells the shocked group that Marsa and Saphira have been in love with each other. A few years ago, the Empire of Jacaerus attacked the Land of Water in hopes of conquering it. However, when their plan failed, they turned to diplomacy by sending Marsa to live with them. Soon after that, he grew closer to Saphira, and they eventually developed feelings for each other. However, Marsa was on a secret mission to spy on their nation, but when he refused to betray Saphira, he was told to return to Jacaerus. A year later, Saphira received a letter from Marsa, telling her that he was going to become the Ring King, and then he would come to marry her. Although sad, Saphira accepted this, and waited for Marsa. But then he broke his promise, and in his place, a nobody loser became the Ring King. Presently, Marsa begs Saphira for a second chance, revealing that he didn't find himself worthy of becoming the Ring King. Disheartened by his words, Saphira tells Marsa that she no longer recognizes the man in front of her. Meanwhile, Saphir finishes her story by revealing that the oracle suddenly came to her father, and although he didn't believe her initially, but when her predictions came true, his father started blindly trusting her. At this, Sato asks Saphir whether the oracle was sent by the Jacaerus Empire, but she admits that she doesn't know that for sure. Elsewhere, the oracle plots Sato's assassination in order to steal his rings, and later that night, while everyone is asleep, 2 assassins stand outside Sato's room to slime him. However, before they are successful, Granart comes and beats them to pulp. Just when she learns they are humans, the assassins use a smoke bomb to disappear. The next day, Sato and his friends learn what happened, when there is another assassin attack on him, but before the arrows can harm Sato, Alabaster uses magic to block the attack. Soon after that, they arrive at a bathhouse where Granart and Crystal start fighting over Sato's funny bone. Ignoring the drama, Sato meets with Marsa to ask him why he let him become the Ring King, when he could have married Saphira. Marsa replies that the burden was too much for him. However, Sato doesn't buy his explanation, and Marsa finally comes clean, revealing that he saw how happy Crystal looked when he came for her, so he couldn't let his own ambition get in the way of her happiness. Hearing this leaves Sato speechless, and later that night, Marsa tells his brother to stop his evil agenda against the Land of Water. However, Sluder tells him to continue providing them details on Sato's movements, reminding Marsa he has no home other than Jacaerus. After Sluder leaves, Marsa is greeted by the Oracle, who tells him that there will be a monster attack, and he must assassinate Sato, then take his rings, because that's what his father wants. While Marsa is speechless, the creepy lady tells him that he has to earn his father's forgiveness, and the only way he can redeem himself is by listening to her. At this, Marsa asks if she is a spy from Jacaerus, but she replies that she is just an oracle, whose predictions always come true. She further adds that Sato is an outsider, so he isn't fit to be the Ring King, which is why he should take his place, since he has all the qualities for the role. As Marsa stands there, scared, the creepy oracle tells him not to worry about anything, and hands him an ancient sword which can distort the flow of magic. She reveals that with this, he'll be able to defeat the Ring King. As Marsa takes the sword, the oracle tells him that she'll be waiting for him to bring the rings to her. Unable to sleep that night, Marsa recalls how his father called him useless for failing the first time, and told him that he has no worth except being his son, so he must prove his value to everyone else. Just then, Marsa sees Saphira without her plot armor, and while he's fascinated by her body, she runs off, embarrassed by her A-cups. Interpreting her reaction as hate, Marsa realizes that he has lost everything he loved, when the sword suddenly gleams darkly, and hypnotizes Marsa into believing that the oracle is right. A few days later, Sluder lays out a plan to combat the monsters, and when Sato volunteers to help, he tells him to hold the fort from within the palace. Much later, Sato receives a kiss from Crystal, in case he needs stamina to fight. Following her steps, Granart also swaps spit with Sato, and when Crystal status whining, she reminds her that she is also Sato's wife. Seeing this, Nephritis kisses Sato's cheek, which further upsets Crystal, who now wants to one-up everyone by French kissing Sato. Meanwhile, Saphir throws up internally after watching her sister wives fight for a medium ugly man. At the same time, Marsa burns with anger, as he watches Sato getting all the baddies while he only has his left hand. On the other end of the nation, Sluder and his men are fighting the monsters, when a messenger informs him that a monster is heading towards the palace. However, Sluder remains unfazed and tells his knights not to worry about the palace. Back at the palace, the monster makes an appearance, so the princesses rush to safety, leaving Sato, Alabaster, and Marsa to handle the threat. While Sato is analyzing the monster, Marsa unsheathes his sword and is about to attack Sato when Alabaster alerts him. Shocked, Sato asks Marsa what he is doing, but he coldly tells him that he has to die. At the same time, the monster attacks them, so Alabaster tells Sato that he will deal with the monster, which allows him to focus on Marsa, who tells Sato that he's going to slime him and take the rings to the Empire, because that's his duty as the Imperial Prince. As they clash swords, Sato asks Marsa what's going on since he always thought it was bros before hoes. At this, Alabaster tells him that Marsa is being controlled by something, so Sato tries to deflate his attacks by using the power of his rings. However, when Marsa easily nullifies his attack, Sato is shocked, and while he's trying to figure out what happened, he hears the voice of the rings telling him to use his full power to slime Marsa. However, Sato tells the voice to piss off, who then reminds him that he can't hold back with an opponent like Marsa, who is stronger than him. This gets Sato thinking that if Marsa really wanted him dead, he wouldn't remain unharmed by now. Looking at Marsa's constipated face, Sato realizes that he is still in there. Meanwhile, the princesses find out that Marsa is fighting Sato, so they rush to the balcony to see what's going on. As Sato lets Marsa hurt him, he tells the prince that he can tell he is hesitating to assassinate him. Hearing this, Marsa lets down his sword and asks Sato to give him the mercy of death, because he is a failure, the woman he loves has forsaken him, and to top it all off, he has wounded his only friend. However, Sato tells Marsa that if it wasn't for him, he would have been a goner. He then offers Marsa to join him and help him defeat the Abyss King, because that will make him a living legend. As Sato extends his hand out to Marsa, the voice of the rings tell him to destroy the gem on the sword, and in doing so, Marsa returns to his old self. Seeing this, the Oracle grits her teeth in anger and manipulates the monster into attacking the princesses. While Granite manages to protect Crystal, the monster changes his direction and takes Sapphira into his custody. The Oracle then presents Marsa with a choice. He can either hand her the rings or see his lover die in front of his eyes. Marsa replies to the Oracle that he was once jealous of Sato, but not anymore, because he will not let anyone control him. With that, Marsa gets on one knee and proposes to Sapphira, which shocks everyone, including the Oracle. While she is distracted, Sato cuts the monster's leg, freeing Sapphira, who falls in Marsa's arms. Consumed with rage, the Oracle suddenly turns the monster more dangerous, revealing to everyone that she is working for the Abyss King. While Sato is wondering what to do, Sapphira calls him a kind-hearted fool, before kissing his cheek, activating the power of the Ring of Water. As Sapphira transforms into a large dragon, she eats the monster, shocking Sato. Meanwhile, the Oracle accepts defeat and escapes to save her life. Sato, on the other hand, asks Sapphira if she can transform back, since he doesn't want a large dragon as his wife. After turning back to her old self, Sapphira and the gang return to the palace, where her father thanks Sato for saving his kingdom, revealing that he was under the Abyss Knight's hypnosis. Then turning to Sluder, he tells him that he can protect the Land of Water himself, and thanks the Empire of Gisseres for all their help. Marsa seizes this opportunity and asks the king for Sapphira's hand, and when he gives his blessing, Marsa proposes to Sapphira again, who happily accepts him. Before leaving, Sluder tells Marsa to come back home when he is done helping the Ring King, which puts Marsa at ease. Meanwhile, at the Gisseres Empire, the Emperor scolds the Oracle for failing to seize the Land of Water as promised. When the Oracle tries to manipulate the old fart, he slimes her using a sword, stating that he only listened to her because their interests aligned. He then makes it clear that he won't let the Abyss King or the Ring King interfere in his plans, before stabbing the Oracle again. Meanwhile, Sato finds himself surrounded by the Ring Princesses, who are dying to show him their Nepals. However, Sapphire starts feeling annoyed, and decides to return to her bedroom, when Nephritis reminds her that Albatross told them to stay close to Sato and his Johnny Sins to help him get stronger. Sato, on the other hand, is excited to have 4 hotties in his bed, but then realizes that he can't disappoint all of them in one night, so he tells them that his heart and PP belongs only to Crystal, which makes her blush. The rest of the girls are okay with this, so they tell Sato that as long as he fulfills his duty, they don't mind sharing him. Sato's face turns dark, as he realizes that saying no to them had no effect. Before he knows it, Sato finds all the girls lying in front of him like different flavors of ice cream. Just then, Sato hears the voice of the rings, who tells him that if he's having performance anxiety, then he can give him power to crack all the shotties in one go. As Sato considers the offer, Crystal gets mad at him for being a dirtbag, and that's when he wakes up, realizing it was just a nightmare. Finding the girls next to him, Sato grabs Crystal's hand and tells her they should go on a date, which shocks her. Nephritis wakes up and is excited to go on a date with Sato until he tells her that it's going to be just Crystal and him. Embarrassed, Nephritis starts tearing up until Granart consoles her and tells Sato to have a good time with Crystal, which leaves him bamboozled because he was expecting Granart to throw a fit. Later on, Crystal bathes her kitty cat, so it's ready for Sato, while he asks Alabaster for some coins to splurge on Crystal. The old fart is shocked that Sato found the balls to take the princess on a date, and hands him extra money to get a nice Airbnb so they can crack later. However, Sato insists that they're going to keep everything family-friendly when Crystal arrives, ready for their date. Unbeknownst to Sato, Granart has convinced Saphir and Nephritis to spy on him and Crystal, so they can later blackmail Sato to demolish their cheeks. However, before they can start their date, Sato gets surrounded by the locals who are excited to see the Ring King. While Sato is enjoying the attention, Crystal thinks to herself that Sato is finally behaving like a normal boy instead of the Ring King, but it also makes her a little sad, as she was expecting a romantic day with him. Meanwhile, from afar, Nephritis feels depressed watching Crystal have Sato all to herself, but then, Granart tells her that Sato comes from a world where they practice monogamy, which is why he is so hesitant to love them all. However, Granart is determined to turn Sato into a harem chad. Meanwhile, Crystal and Sato arrive at a park where they find all the couples smooching and cuddling with one another. While they're tweaking out, Saphir tells the girls that a legend says that if a couple kisses in the park, they'll be united forever. Crystal then looks at Sato, expecting a kiss, but the loser freaks out and says that he's not French, so he can't kiss her in public. Hearing this, Granart and the girls get bored and decide to just go home, after realizing that there won't be any cheeks cracking tonight. Nephritis then tells Granart and Saphir that despite everything, she is happy they went outside today, because this is her first time hanging out with friends. However, Saphir quickly counters that she is old enough to be her grandma, breaking her heart. Later on, Sato and Crystal sit together, where he tells her that he has realized this world isn't too different from his, which pleases Crystal, and she tells him that he has started to sound like a hero now. On their way back home, Sato asks Crystal if she had fun, and she admits that it was less of a date than a hangout between two bros. While this upsets Sato, he promises to do better next time, but Crystal tells him that he should spend more time with his other wives, because he has a duty towards them as well. Sato gets frustrated with Crystal, and shows her that she's the only one for him by kissing her against the wall. As the kiss deepens, Crystal starts feeling freaky, so she tells Sato to take her to a love hotel. Just then, a receptionist tells them she has a room available for them, which ends up freaking them out. So Crystal tells Sato they should just go home. The next day, it's time for them to be on the move, and Saphir is upset to leave her sister and home behind. She apologizes to Saphira, knowing that she will be left alone, but she assures Saphir that she can take care of herself. Before parting ways, Saphira asks Saphir to look after Marseille, so she can get laid too. Saphir agrees, and finally joins Sato's party, who is heading towards the land of the earth where the dwarf princess resides. Saphir then tells Sato that dwarves were hated by other nations, and yet they fought valiantly alongside the Ring King. However, as a result, their land is now in ruins, which means nobody knows whether the princess is alive or not. As they arrive at a mountainous region, Alabaster informs them that they have to make the remaining passage by foot. At first, Sato was excited to have an adventure, but 3 days later, his spirits break, and he starts complaining about how they have been going on without taking any break. Ignoring the loser, Alabaster tells the girls to watch their steps, because one misstep, and they'll be having dinner with Aaron Yeager. Following this, Nephritis eagerly looks down and finds the remains of monsters, which excites her. So Alabaster informs her that this place is called the Great Mountain Wall, as it once served as a battlefield during the age of the Abyss King. Shortly after that, Granart arrives after scouting the area, and informs everyone that she hasn't seen any red flags. Hearing this, Marseille suggests camping for the night, so they can replenish their strength. That night, while everyone is asleep, Sato and Alabaster stay up to guard the area, when Sato asks Alabaster if he's really a wise sage, because he looks more like a creepy boomer who goons to feet. At this, Alabaster tells Sato to get to the point, so he asks the old fart if the rings are as important as everyone claims, since the Gisarus Empire has been deleting monsters without the help of magic. After hearing him out, Alabaster tells Sato that the world is vast, so not everyone will place their hope in the Ring King. However, Alabaster adds that after going through several records, he believes the Abyss King cannot be defeated with manpower alone. The next day, Sato's party finally arrives in the land of Earth, and seeing the ruined nation, Sato wonders what really went down. So Alabaster informs him that the Abyss King laid out several attacks on the dwarves until their city was completely destroyed. Saphir then tells everyone to go ahead without her, because she needs to rest, but Granite reminds her that the Abyss King's lair is right next to the land of Earth, so they need to stick together. Moving on, Sato and his team enter a throne room, where Sato stumbles upon a lifeless humanoid figure which freaks him out. Alabaster then informs him that it's a sorcerer's unit, an ancient relic used by the dwarves for manual labor. After hearing this, Sato feels sad that a technologically advanced city was wiped out just like that. Then, all of a sudden, the sorcerer's unit attacks Sato, claiming it's unfair that only the dwarves disappeared after the battle. Dodging the attack, Sato then finds a dark ring on the robot's hand, and realizes that the Abyss King is the one behind it. The robot follows up with another attack, this time, trapping Sato inside a wall. While Alabaster is panicking, inside the wall, Sato fights the robot who tells him to abandon this battle because he's an outsider with no ties to this world. However, Sato counters that he will put his life on the line for Crystal and her world. Just then, Alabaster shatters the wall using magic, while Crystal kisses Sato for a quick power-up, which helps him slay the robot. As the robot finally falters, Nefertis wonders if the dwarves hate the rest of the world for surviving, but Alabama tells her there is no point dwelling on it, because the robot's words were tainted by darkness. Suddenly, the black ring on the robot disappears, which is worrisome, because it indicates the hour of doom. Just then, a horde of abyss monsters appear, and start attacking Sato's group. With so many of them, Sato asks Saphir to transform into a dragon and turn all the monsters into Scooby snacks, but she tells him that he can't transform in a place where there is no water. Left with no choice, Sato and his friends run out of the throne room, and that's when Alabaster sees another group of monsters coming their way, making him realize that the Abyss King has finally resurrected. Falling to his knees, Alabaster tells Sato that he doesn't stand a chance against the Abyss King without the Earth Ring. Sato tries to motivate Alabaster by telling him they should continue searching for the last ring, but as the monsters start closing in on them, Alabaster tells Sato that the Abyss King won't allow them to have their way, so before it's too late, he creates a portal so Sato and the princesses can leave safely. Marse stays back to protect Alabaster, who tells Sato to free the princesses of their fate, revealing that he can't join them, since he has to stay back to close the portal. Before Crystal can run to her grandfather, the portal closes, leaving only Alabaster and Marse behind. When the old sage asks the prince if he is sure about staying back, Marse replies that he has made his decision to fight for this world until the bitter end. Hearing this, Alabaster apologizes to Marse for making him risk his life, but he says that it's an honor to fight beside the great sage. Meanwhile, the first thing the girls do upon coming to Earth is go to Forever 21. While they are shopping, Sato looks at Crystal and realizes how happy she is when he overhears a few girls whispering about why the girls have funny ears. This worries Sato, as he doesn't want people to think that he's hanging out with thoughty e-girls. Later on, they sit inside a restaurant to discuss their next move, when Saphir reprimands them all for not being worried about their nations. In response, Granite tells Saphir that her country is run by the Merchants Guild, while the Elven village is run by Jade and Perida, and Crystal has lived on Earth for 10 years, so it's practically her second home. Just then, the waiter brings food for Saphir, and Granite instantly calls her out for pigging out since they got here. After telling Granite that she has a major sweet tooth, Saphir tells them they should search for a way to go back home. When Sato asks her if she has any clues, she reveals they should search for spots that are dense with magic, as they can serve as portals. Several hours later, the girls end up in the bathhouse after being unable to find any leads. Just then, Granite announces that she will bring her people on Earth, since she doesn't want her people to be wiped out like the dwarves. This motivates Nephritis to explore the human realm, when they suddenly remember that Crystal promised Sato she will let him crack after returning home. Crystal blushes, and tells the girls that Sato should be the one to initiate things, but that night, she sends the girls to sleep in her old apartment, and heads to Sato's place for a sleepover. Crystal nervously waits for Sato to pounce on her, but the idiot instead asks her how she had the money for shopping. Crystal then reveals that when they returned, her grandfather had left her a note, which revealed that he predicted things to go south, so he made sure she had money and a place to live. While relieving the memory, she starts sobbing on Sato's chest, telling him how Alabaster left her a trust fund so she can buy Gucci and Armani. Several days later, Sato and Crystal return to school. While Nephritis has busied herself in books, Granite spends her time chatting with the neighborhood cats, and Saphir just stays in her room like a depressed loser. One night, Sato sneaks out to the forest where he first saw the portal, but this time Crystal follows him, revealing that she knows he has been coming to the forest every night. Sato admits that he can't sleep, knowing the other princesses must be worried about their nations. However, Crystal reminds him that Alabaster wanted them to live freely on Earth. Then, embracing Sato, Crystal asks him to forget about everything and start afresh with her. However, Sato has a hard time abandoning Alabaster and Marse, so he pushes Crystal and is about to tell her something when the forest shrine starts to glow. Just then, a tomboy baddie steps out from it and tells Sato that she had been waiting for the Ring King for centuries. However, when she finds Crystal pressed against Sato, she turns to leave. As Sato stops her, the girl reveals that her name is Amber, and she is the protector of the Earth Ring. Sato is shocked that the final princess was hiding on Earth, so Amber tells him that after the war, only a handful of dwarves remained. In order to protect the ring, they created her, a vessel that would withstand time. When Sato asks if she's got that Robo-Coochie, Amber reveals that she is a replica of the dwarf princess and was sent to Earth because the dwarves didn't want anyone stealing the Earth Ring. Closing the distance between them, Amber then tells Sato they should get married so they can save Arnolus from getting demolished. But before they can kiss, Crystal stops them and says Sato is not going back to Arnolus. Amber looks at Sato, but when he remains quiet, she tells him that if he ever changed his mind, he knows where to find her. The next day, Granart complains to Sato how she has nothing to do here, so he's about to tell her and the rest of the princesses about Amber, when Crystal drags him outside and forbids him from speaking about Amber. She reasons that even with the Earth Ring, he can't defeat Abyss King, so he should give anyone false hope. The next day, Sato is returning home when Amber appears suddenly in his path and takes Sato to the forest where she tells him she can open a portal to Arnolus. When Sato doesn't say anything, Amber visits him again the next day and asks him why he's having second thoughts about following his destiny. Sato admits that he wanted to be a hero for Crystal, but she doesn't believe in him anymore, so he doesn't know what to do. Amber reassures Sato that the power of the rings are absolute, so the Abyss King doesn't stand a chance against him. However, she adds that if he forfeits his duty as the Ring King, she will continue to watch over him, because that is the responsibility of a ring princess. After hearing this, Sato makes up his mind and asks Amber to give him the ring, which makes her happy. After sharing a kiss, Sato takes the Earth Ring and returns home, only to get tackled by Crystal. Just when she is about to get freaky with Sato, Crystal notices the final ring on his hand and asks him why he accepted the ring from Amber. Sato replies that they need to return to Arnolus, but Crystal cries out that they finally have a chance to live a normal life, and she doesn't want to throw that away. Hearing this, Sato tells Crystal that they've only known each other for 10 years, but she has been a ring princess all her life, so she shouldn't forsake her duty for his dong. With that, Sato adds that they will defeat the Abyss King together, so they can live happily ever after. Despite her fears, Crystal agrees, but asks Sato to pipe her before returning to Arnolus. Just when things are getting good between them, Amber arrives with the news that they need to return to Arnolus right now because her teleportation spell works only once. While Crystal and Sato are shocked, Granart bursts in with Nephritis and Saphir, all prepared to go back. When Crystal sees this, she realizes that Granart knew everything, so she apologizes to her for keeping secrets, but Granart shrugs it off and tells Crystal they have bigger things to worry about. With that, Amber teleports Sato and his harem back to Arnolus. Once the teleportation circle drops Sato and his babes to the land of Earth, Granart sniffs around and tells everyone to be cautious because she smells blood. Amber suddenly turns into Homelander, shooting light beams from her eyes, which nearly blinds everyone. While exploring the area, Sato finds a pit of dead monsters and humans, which shocks him, while Saphir tells him that the Imperial Knights must have come to the rescue. However, looking at the number of corpses, Nephritis wonders if they were too late, until Granart's sense of smell leads them to another battlefield where the soldiers are still fighting the monsters. Suddenly, Sato's rings start to glow as he sees the Abyss King's dark ring wiping out the Imperial soldiers. As Sato sees this, his rings start glowing while he prepares to defeat the final boss. Amber then advises Sato to launch a sneak attack, which will allow them to have an upper hand, and when Sato accepts the advice, Crystal worries for his safety. Sato, being an S-tier simp, assures Crystal that while the battle will be tough, it won't be as intense as Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, so she shouldn't worry too much. On that note, the princesses give Sato courage by words and pecks, while his main hoe directly kisses him on the mouth, telling him to come back so he can finally demolish her tanks. Now charged up, Sato flies to the battlefield, deleting many monsters on his way to the Abyss King. When he finally reaches him, the Abyss King prepares to take him down, when Sato hears the voice of rings, telling him that he has done well, so in return he will help him unite the power of the rings. As the rings combine into one supreme ring, Sato feels the massive surge of power flowing through him. As the voice urges Sato to not hold back, he strikes the Abyss King with his sword, causing all his army to disappear. Just when the ladies think the fight is over, Granart yells at Sato to be careful, as the Abyss King starts regenerating. This leaves everyone in shock, as the voice of the rings tells Sato that he was guaranteed to win. Right before Sato loses consciousness, he wonders if he wasn't good enough, while the Abyss King calls him an ignorant puppet. Granart refuses to waste another second, and runs to the battlefield to help Sato, with Nephritis following close behind. Crystal, on the other hand, remains frozen with fear, so Amber assures her that she won't let Sato die. Meanwhile, at the battlefield, the Abyss King is about to isekai Sato when Granart strikes him down and saves Sato. Following this, the Abyss King calls his big black orcs to demolish the maiden rings. Before his girls go black, Sato blacks out after apologizing to them for being a wimp. In his dreamlike state, Sato sees all the precious memories he made with Crystal before it gets tainted by the Abyss King's darkness. Just then, Sato wakes up on a giant bird controlled by Alabaster, which leads him to think that he has died. Alabaster laughs and tells Sato that everyone is alive because he came at the right moment, opened a portal, and saved everyone from the Abyss King. When Sato asks what happened to Marse, Alabaster reveals that after he sent them to another world, Princess Smaragdi came and saved them both from the monsters. While Smaragdi is fawning over Alabaster, he informs Sato and Sapphire that Marse is currently leading a battalion in the Land of Water. After hearing this, Sato apologizes to Alabaster for failing to delete the Abyss King, but the old sage assures him that his attack has brought them some time to strategize. Shortly after that, they land in a friendly village, where Sato is welcomed by the civilians who are excited to have him and the princesses back. Once the celebration dies down, Sapphire angrily asks Alabaster why Sato failed to slime the Abyss King, and the old fart states that it's because they haven't given Sato enough sloppy joes. Before they can discuss the details, Prince Marse and Sato have a bromance moment. After that, Alabaster informs them that according to the legends, the Ring Princesses fought alongside the Ring King, which means they have to prepare for the front line. At this, Granart tells Alabaster that while she, Amber and Sapphire can hold their weight, Crystal and Nephritis are completely useless. So Alabaster informs them that everyone will be going under a wife training program designed to turn the Ring Princesses into female Vikings. The next morning, Alabaster gathers everyone, announcing that he has found the perfect instructor for them. Just then, a girl flies over, calling Crystal her big sister. It turns out, the person in charge is none other than Crystal's sister, Morion. Do you also wish to be a harem king? Comment banana if you want to see everything unplotted, and subscribe for more anime content.